What I'm about to say might be a mega hot take, and I know you need to take this with a grain of salt, but I think Castorice might be a step in the right direction. But before we all jump to conclusions and you start typing in the comments, let me explain. Most of you guys that watch my channel already understand that I've been looking for something in Star Rail that hasn't existed for a long time, and that thing has been strategy or some form of complexity behind the actual combat system in the game. Now, while it currently doesn't have a lot of traditional turn-based mechanics, as I like to call it, it does have some depth to the characters. And after playing with Castorice for almost a week at this point, and then also digging into what everybody else was doing Castorice and trying to recreate 0 cycles and 1 cycles and specific combos and stats and whatever else, I've come to my own conclusion that this character is basically what I've been asking for, a little bit, if you will. Now, we're gonna explain this and I'm gonna walk you through it with my own intentions, I guess. Hold on. So if we take a look at Castorice just for a moment, we already know about most of her kit, right? We know she has the dragon, this is basically Malzeno from Monster Hunter. I'm not gonna hold you, but that's so cool. Anyhow, we know the dragon comes out. We know that it's gonna be able to consume HP, and she's kind of like an HP give or take character, right? I think this is the better version of HP draining characters. I think Mighty might be the second best version of this character or this type of character, but it is what it is. Anyhow, moving beyond that point, he does a crap ton of damage, but it's not damage that is too much, if you will. And I think her damage that she does is, well, it's just okay. I think in the situations that definitely benefit her, i.e. fighting against Pollux, you see this in a phenomenal run. But then you have other fights like the Swarm Bug in Apocalyptic Shadow, for instance, where she really does struggle trying to do whatever it is or dish out as much damage as possible. Castorice has been proving to me that this is not the type of character that I can turn my brain off for, and honestly, that's just what I've been looking for. I've been looking for something that's going to make me dig into the game, make me look for different strategies or combos, and open up the floor for what I want to do. So far, I've tested Castorice with a number of different teammates, that being Luocha, Gallagher, Bailu, Blade, Mighty, and even just by herself. I think most of us right now are gravitating towards I think this is a 3-cost or something like that, but most of us are gravitating towards a 3-cost team, being Tribby with Dance Dance Dance, Castorice with her signature light cone, Gallagher with whatever you want, and then RMC with the light cone that, you know what, I could just look it up right here. It's already in my face. The memories curtain never falls, which you're going to be able to get from the Herda shop. And if you aren't running Gallagher, then of course you could replace Gallagher with Luocha, which I've come to find myself doing quite a bit. Now, there are a couple different runs that I'm going to show you guys today, like as B-roll and whatnot, and then we'll kind of talk over it for the most part. But Luocha is actually really cool too. I like using Luocha a little bit, but I've come to find myself liking Gallagher a little bit more than Luocha, specifically because of the speed tuning that comes into play when you're doing this type of stuff. If I break this down for you guys in just a bit, or I guess like going over what I'm doing right here, normally we would do Trailblazer, we would activate the Impair, which is time stop. Yeah, but in this case, you don't do that because you want to be hit. You want Castorice to take damage, or at least your team to take damage. And I like that. I like the fact that she has that little bit of strategy or depth behind what you're doing. Right here, we can start the game off, and I've seen plenty of YouTubers, I've even done it myself, where I just burn the entire dragon meter and then I start the game off. But in this particular case, shout outs to Wyatt, by the way, because I didn't even think of doing the basic attack. I've always done burn a little bit of dragon, then do basic attack. But to see his run for that, it was so cool. And it really did make me think like, I gotta lock in. I gotta figure out how you do this for every different run. And what I come to find out, or what I came to find out, oh no, I messed up. Anyway, restart. I'm talking to you guys, trying to explain it at the same time, but let me get back to that point here. What I've come to find out with this character is that not every run is the exact same. Some things you do a little bit formulaic, right? If I have Gallagher set up to be a certain thing, I'm gonna be able to use Gallagher, get him up, get his ultimate thanks to the ERR rope, and then I'm gonna be able to pop that and hopefully get my, well, it's not hopefully, we already calculated. I'm gonna get RMC to be able to do her thing, and then RMC is gonna drag Castorice up after she does her dragon stuff, right? Boom, now she's up there. We get that clean 40% extra damage, which is super cool. We get the DDD, boom, just like that, and it's awesome. Now this run differentiates depending on your stats and whatnot, and I like that. I like the fact that if you do want to play it, which to me personally, this reminds me a little bit more of Zila, right? We talk about Zila and high investment all the time. At least I talk about Zila and high investment all the time. And a lot of that turns into, if you want to invest into the character, it's worth it. If you don't want to invest into the character, then you typically don't have to worry about investing into the character, and that's okay too. After this point though, we kind of lose. I'm not gonna hold you. And I don't mean that we lose because I can't kill it. I mean that we lose because the thing that I want to do is build up energy. And unfortunately, they're dead. And it is what it is, right? So a lot of what I'm talking about, like I said, it just differentiates between what you're able to do. And I'll let the rest of this play out for the most part to do whatever it is. I'll swap over to B-roll so I can just kind of talk with you guys, especially because my light's off. You know, I didn't charge it, so it is what it is. When I play this character, and like I said, I've played her in a couple different variations on the teams, if you will. What I mean by her going in the right direction, I feel like if Hoyo pushes more characters like this, or at least the concept, the thought of characters like this, it works in our favor. I don't want more characters that make me essentially turn my brain off and I don't have to think about anything. I want the game to get to a point where you have to think about the decisions that you make because it's a turn-based game. There needs to be some form of strategy behind what we're doing, and we are getting good boss designs. I will say it right now, I'm very indifferent when it comes to Pollux. I don't think Pollux is the best boss design, but I don't think Pollux is the worst boss design either. There's just a little bit more about Pollux that I don't like. I'll talk about that in a different video specifically about Pollux, but as of right now, most of what we're getting at when it comes to Castorice, I really just want to compare this to Zila. It's a weird feeling, I know, but she just feels that way. Castorice brings to the table the depth behind it, the strategy, when to burn dragon, when not to burn dragon, the 40% damage increase from using dragon, the 40% advance forward, things like that. Like, there's a lot that's in her kit that makes her a very self-sufficient character, but she's not so self-sufficient that she works on her own, or rather she doesn't care about the rest of the team. That's what I mean to say. She definitely feels like one of the characters that plays well with everybody, or I don't mean everybody obviously because she doesn't work with everybody, but you know what I'm talking about, right? More characters than not. If we were to compare this to like Aglaya, when Aglaya came out, she's pretty much glued to Sunday or Tribby, RMC, whatever, and then Ho-Oh. But in this case, we don't have that with Castorice at all. And I know this might sound like cope or caping for the character in a way, but I like it. Not the cope part. That's not what I mean, guys. I mean that for me personally, and you guys are more than welcome to speak for yourself once you get access to the character or from the footage that you've seen. If we're gonna keep going in the direction that we're going with Star Rail, the least that we could do, or the least that I could appreciate, would be characters that allow me to dig into the strategy that exists in Star Rail. I understand that a lot of us kind of look at this game as, or any Hoyo game really, it's kind of like super easy and you don't have to think about things, but I believe that all the 0 cycles that are available on YouTube right now, early access for Castorice, all the 1 cycles, the 2 cycles, whatever, I think all of these are showing you guys different forms of strategies. I've watched at least 7 different 0 cycles so far, and I've seen at least 12 or 13 different Castorice videos, as well as playing her with my own experience. You guys should be able to see it for yourself. Every single run that I've seen is different. I have not seen a single run that is the exact same. Some people have different stats, which you have to accommodate for. And I love that. I love the fact that you can run Castorice and this Castorice has like 90 speed or 87 speed, or obviously all of them are lower speed, but like Tribby might be on Windset. Tribby might not be on Windset and she's running Poetic. The RMC could be on Windset or no Windset. The different planar ornaments that exist. The strategy behind Star Rail always happens outside of the match first, or outside of the combat first. And then once you get into the combat, it happens. Just like Wyatt mentioned, a lot of us sit down here and we're testing stuff for hours on hours on hours on hours to try and figure out the best possible route to do it. One of the things that I don't like, and I gotta make that very clear about why I don't like it, is the RNG behind so many 0 cycles. Castorice is being improved upon every single time we experience or play her, to the point where these 0 cycles won't be so RNG reliant, which I think is a pretty good thing. But this is of course under the pretense, or rather the examples that we have right now. A lot of stuff is catered to her towards, or a lot of stuff is catered to her in the game currently on the version that we're playing in CE server. By no means am I trying to sell any of you guys on grabbing or pulling Castorice, but for those of us that are going to continue to play Honkai Star Rail, I do believe that Castorice might be a solid pickup. I don't think this character is going to be one of those characters that breaks the game, or like another Acheron, so to speak, right? Where it's a must pull, you need her, despite the whole Sanctuary of Moon Coon thing, or is it Cocoon Moon? Whatever it is, right? You know what I'm talking about. Despite that, I do believe that Castorice is going in that direction where if more characters turn out like this, where they force you to think, but that's what it is. If they force you to think about how you approach what's currently in the game, but the options to approach it are vast, or at least open enough, right? And you know what? And now that I said that out loud, this makes it so much easier for me to explain. If we go back into the game for just a moment, let me kind of show you guys, right? If we come back over here, you can see right on the screen, because I didn't really touch anything, Aglaya, Robin, Sunday, and Ho-Oh. Yeah, so boom. I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna show you guys what I'm talking about. If I make a team, if we go over here and we talk about the different teams that we have ready to go, right? This is the Castor's team. Let's go with this. Boom, Aglaya. This team is very restrictive. If I want to play an Aglaya team, Aglaya has very few options that I could use, right? Or replace them with, right? Sunday pretty much feels glued to the character. I don't have any issues with that at all, because having characters that are best friends or partners, that's in every gacha game. In fact, that's in almost every RPG style game. You just have best partners or whatever. I don't complain about that. But if I wanted to replace this Robin and I wanted to use RMC, well, now I can't use RMC on a different team. Or in the event that I wanted to use an Nihility character like Pela, how do I fit a Pela on this team? And then how does Pela benefit me, right? Now I have to run a Winset Pela to try and keep up with Aglaya, but is she going to be able to help with that energy? Do I need to make up for that by getting E1 Aglaya, S1, E2, so on and so forth? It gets pretty expensive, especially when you're looking at the fact that, like I said, I got a Robin on the team, right? And of course, having vertical investment in this would make this crazy good, but it is what it is. If we come over to Acheron, especially with Zhao Shou, now has a little bit more flexibility, but now we're getting to a point where E0, S0 Acheron, or even E0, S1 Acheron is struggling to keep up with what we have in the game. I can use Pela, I can use Zhao Shou, I can use Gallagher, or replace Gallagher with Aventuring. Obviously, don't do that if you're fighting Pollux. Again, I'll talk about that in its own video. You guys should be enjoying that whenever it comes out, because it's not for me, it's to help everybody else, because Pollux is a very weird boss. Despite all that, Acheron came out of the gate with people saying she was very restrictive, and now we can, E2 or not, Zhao Shou and what was it at, Sunday or Robin, one of the two. They're really good to the point where now you don't have to do that. So you have more options as time has progressed. Then we get over to one of my favorite teams, the follow-up team. But this team it struggles right now. A lot of the team, or a lot of the game, is very AoE centric, which, it is what it is. It's part of the meta shift. Can't really box that. You just gotta, move along with it. And Fei Xiao can work in a lot of the AoE teams, or a lot of the AoE functioning modes, but it takes a lot more resources, if you will. Running Winset Fei Xiao, which I love Winset Fei Xiao, but then you look at like instead of March, you might have Moza, right, with Winset as well. And a lot of you guys just don't want to farm Winset. Totally understandable, because that domain sucks, but it's a really good relic set. We get into Dill Pickle. Dill Pickle has very few options that he could work with as well in order to bring out the maximum amount of damage that he wants to do. So on and so forth. You guys get what I'm going with this, right? When we have a character like Castorice that gives you the same opportunity damage-wise as a lot of these other characters that we just talked about and explored, and she gives you more variation on the teams that you can play. She still has a best partner, just like how Aglaya and Sunday would be best partners. Ribby and Castorice could be best partners. But guess what? You actually benefit a lot more with Gallagher than you do Castorice, not in terms of damage, in terms of the healing and the speed at which you can do that. You could also replace Gallagher with Luocha, and that could help you out as well. But guess what? You could also do, if you wanted to run no sustain, please don't do that. But if you wanted to, for whatever reason, instead of using RMC or instead of using Tribby, you could get away with, where we at? My boy, Mighty. And this could work out in your favor, right? Because now you could replace one of the true damage characters with another. You don't have Tribby because you didn't want to pull her. Well, now you have RMC and you can get away with that. And RMC still has their own form of action advancing forward. So you have to play around that. But that's where the depth of the strategy behind your own team building and speed tuning comes into play. I like that. I like the fact that if I'm going to play a team like this with Mighty, Gallagher, Castorice, and Tribby, I need to figure out how this is going to work. Can Gallagher sustain everybody? Is it going to work out in terms of speed? Does Gallagher need to go first or second or third? Mighty is going to be on auto mode the entire time. So how does that work? Do I need to speed tune him a certain way? How does that benefit Castorice? The list goes on and on and on and on and on. This is why I'm saying more characters like this. This is the healthier part of the game, or the good part of the game, when you create more stuff like this. Minus the thing that we don't have to talk about. We've already acknowledged it. Hey, we don't have to keep harping on it, right? We have to move on from it at this point and make that decision. Like I said, either quit or submit. And I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you have submitted. It's okay. No one's I'm not gonna shame you. No one on my channel is gonna shame you guys. So it's fine. It is what it is. Just enjoy the game, bro. That's really all it is. If you like the character, enjoy the character. I'm gonna stop yapping now. All right, I'm gonna get out of here because quite frankly, I think that's about it. And I still have to edit this video and then send it, whatever. Anyway, I like the character. I'm hoping the game pushes itself in a better direction and we don't have to deal with some of the issues that we've currently been dealing with. Outside of that, I think she's solid. I we'll more than likely deliver you guys a couple more things about casters. But like I said, the next video that I'm going to be working on should be a Pollux video. I really want to talk about that boss in particular and how it compares to a couple different things. But we'll get there when time tells. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Like the video, comment, subscribe. Smell you later.